We're back with Alden Chodash of AldenBoxing.com. This past weekend, Alden, on ShoBox, it was Alfredo Angulo looking impressive. What do you think of this guy?
Great puncher, very exciting fighter, and he's a well-heralded puncher as well. He's knocked out 2 named fighters, and the fashion he knocks them out with a few punches, not even accumulation. So he's a great puncher. He has a pretty good arsenal of punches. He mixes his punches up well. And he's gotten the job done in 1 round against 2 fighters who have names, good records. And I believe his last 3 opponents have a combined record of 40-plus wins with only 6 losses. So he's, in his recent bouts, he's been matched with pretty good fighters, and he's came through with impressive early round knockout results. I'd like to see him extend the distance with some veterans. He's a very exciting fighter, and he's a very good prospect.
Okay, what about his defense? Any flaws you think in his defense that would keep him from being a big name?
Well, there's definitely going to be flaws in his defense with the amount of punches he throws. And we've seen him get hit by punches even in first-round blowouts. But it's obvious this guy's not unbeatable. I think he's headed for a loss sometime in his next 10 fights with the way he's been winning fights and probably with the fashion that he's been matched up against some of the better opposition. I think he's headed for a loss, but I don't think that's going to diminish his reputation because he's always going to make a good, exciting showing, and I think he's already made a name for himself.
Headed for a loss just because of his freewheeling style of throwing a lot of punches?
No, he's soon going to develop into a tough journeyman kind of fighter that is fun to watch, very fun to watch and very exciting to watch if he's not already.
He's already 25 years old, I believe.
Yes, still young. 12 fights, it's a little old for 12 fights, but he's being advanced pretty well in his career, and I see him making a pretty good step up in a couple fights.
Okay, Andy Lee, who coincidentally beat Angulo in the Olympics, am I correct?
Yes.
Well, Andy Lee moved his record to 15-0 this past weekend, 12 by KO, and Winky Wright's name is being bandied about for Andy Lee's next opponent. You think Andy Lee, Winky Wright would be something you'd want to watch?
I really like Andy Lee, but I hope it's not his idea to get it on with Winky Wright. Whoever it is, it's definitely a very poor thought. It's not good for either fighter's careers. Andy Lee is still being developed. A fight with Winky would probably ruin him. Winky Wright taking that fight would probably diminish his reputation just by the fact that he's taking on a guy with 15 fights and still developing. So it's not a good fight for the sport or neither for the fighters.
Okay. Upcoming fights this week on Versus Channel Thursday. Kendall Holt, one of the great counterpunchers in my opinion in the sport, he takes on veteran Ben Tacky. Holt, Tacky, who do you like?
We're going to see if Tacky has anything left in his punching power because Holt's technical skills would be too much for Tacky in any time in Tacky's career, but Tacky's punch would, if he lands it, would definitely be a problem for Holt in any time in Holt's career also, but I think Tacky's skills and timing has diminished enough to make it extremely difficult, if not impossible, to get in contact with Kendall Holt with all the speed and maneuverability that Holt has. So Holt's going to easily beat him if not stop him. Okay.
Friday night, ESPN, Darnell, the Dingling Man Wilson, faces undefeated B.J. Flores. What do you think of that matchup?
Any fight Darnell Wilson it's a very good matchup. B.J. Flores, I haven't heard much about him, but he's an undefeated fighter. If he has consistency in his boxing skills, and he has good boxing skills, you should be able to beat Darnell Wilson. Consistency, what I mean by that is to consistently outbox Wilson, because Wilson, and to keep him at long range for the scheduled amount of rounds, because Wilson has the knockout power to knock out top-class heavyweights. He's scored knockout of the year candidates, I believe a couple of them last year against Kelvin Davis and definitely Emmanuel Nwodo. He's a squat, small, huge puncher, limited skills, but he's shown that he's came through deficiencies in skills to score big knockouts and make a name for himself in the cruiserweight division. So B.J. Flores has to be sharp, consistent, and I'm not sure if he can be. I haven't seen this guy. Should be a good matchup, however.
Okay, on the undercard on ESPN's show, a Cuban gold medalist, Yuriorkis Gamboa. What do you think of this guy?
He's probably, I believe, is the best prospect in the sport. I'd love to see who he's fighting. I, he has been matched up with good opposition, experienced opposition, and he's stopped them all. He's 9-0, I believe.
8-0, 7 by KO.
8-0, 7 by KO. He's extremely sharp, hard to hit, and he's a very good puncher, which is an attribute of his speed. He's so quick, catches guys off balance, and eventually stops them. He's gained quite a bit of weight since the Olympics. He fought at 112. Now he's at 130, but it's all muscle. He's extremely built. He's small, and I think he's the best prospect in the sport right now.
Okay. Saturday night, HBO, Paul Williams, Carlos Quintana. Quintana have any chance against the Punisher?
I don't think so. Quintana is the kind of guy that depends on guys to make mistakes, to counterpunch them, and Williams, I think, is just too small. Too tall and too sharp for Quintana to really counter off of. It's not a very exciting matchup. Williams should win. Quintana is definitely going to make it through the 12 rounds, I believe. He's smart enough to make it through, and Williams is definitely not a big puncher, which definitely doesn't make for a very good fight.
I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but Paul Williams, Miguel Cotto this year. Do you think Paul Williams wins?
No, I don't think so. I think Miguel Cotto, very similar to what Margarito did, would lose early rounds, walk him down, and then would finish him in the late rounds. Margarito almost did that, but he just wasn't quick enough and wasn't young enough like Miguel Cotto is. Just would lose a couple rounds, do what Margarito did, wear him down, and I think he would get a knockout victory late.
With Cotto, you think would beat Williams if they ever faced?
Yes.
Faced off. Andre Berto is also on HBO Saturday night, taking on German fighter Michael Trabant, a veteran with a record of 43-2, 19 by KO. Andre Berto, Trabant, who wins that fight?
The only thing good about Berto in this fight is that he's going to get a guy with a sparkly record on his resume. I looked at Trabant's record. He hasn't faced anybody. I'm not sure if he's fought out of Germany or Europe. And I'm not sure. I don't think he's going to give Berto the needed experience that Berto requires at this stage in his career. But it's a good fight for Berto, based on the fact that he's coming off 2 hard fights in which he's taken a good amount of punches, suffered the first knockdown of his career, and had to throw more punches. So it's a good tune-up fight for Berto for the future, but I don't see him gaining anything out of this fight.
Okay. Finally, I know you've been watching some Baby Joe Macy footage. If Baby Joe didn't have the medical issues, do you think how would he rank right now in the heavyweight picture?
I don't think he would be champion. I don't think he's big enough. I don't think his hand speed would make up for his small size. But he's probably would rank as one of the most technically sound fighters and one of the most skilled and savvy heavyweights. He's a very savvy fighter, and he was dominating Vasily Jirov for what I saw before Jirov just connected on him with a couple rigged right hands. Macy wasn't used to fighting southpaws, and Jirov caught him off guard. But Macy made a good showing for himself in the first 8 rounds before Jirov began to connect. Macy would have been a good heavyweight. I just don't think he's big enough and quick enough to really become a champion. But he'd probably stand close to where he is right now. He's not doing that bad right now. He's being active, and I think he's improving for his medical condition right now.
Okay, great. But the Klitschko's of the division, you think would be a little bit too much for him?
They're just too big. I think not only them, I think a couple other big heavyweights would be a little bit too much for him. But he could beat some. He would have been able to beat some names. And like I said, for his medical condition right now, he's not doing that bad right now. He's actually improving as a fighter, just improving as the fighter that fought Stefan Tessier on ESPN about a year ago. He's definitely much improved since then, but not where he should have been if he wouldn't have suffered those brain injuries. But once again, I don't think he would have ever been heavyweight champion.
Okay, great. Thanks, Alden, for talking to us. Remember to check out aldenboxing.com and fightfan.com for more information. See you next week.